address the things that, so I'm going to repeat this again. So what's the solution? So what's the solution? What is the solution? Well, the solution is to address what the problem is. And the problem is that no one is talking about the real situation, which is infinity, the sphere, zero. Everyone is ignoring it. So then again, if you ignore the truth, then you will never find it because it's in your face and you're ignoring it for X, Y, Z reason. It doesn't really matter. The fact and the truth is that you are not gonna find truth if you're not looking for truth. Because to look for truth is to solve the things that you are not wanting to solve, which are the problems in the first place. So the problems that they were trying to solve were wrong. This is why all the equations are wrong, because they were looking at it the wrong way. They were putting patches to ignore the truth so they could pretend that the truth is not that. Because then again, it's hard to come to terms with what infinity is. Infinity and zero has always been the biggest thing because infinity equals zero. 1 divided by 0 is infinity itself. And I have proven this like in full. Like it's there, right? If truth is truth. So that's it. So it's very simple. You either know the truth or you don't. And I have given the truth to everybody. So it's there. So enjoy it because the truth is that. So as I said, we enter this new era, this epoch, this new chapter in human affairs, where we have the solutions to everything because we know the truth. So there's no question that cannot be answered. So the limitations are not question-based. They are essentially driven by our abilities to actually understand what the truth is, which is there. So use it, apply it. It's applicability now. So there's no limits, you see. So there is no limitations anymore. It's just application. That's what I'm trying to say. So we enter the new era of applied truth, essentially. It's applied truth. So this is why I want to talk about metalogic. Why? Because metalogic is the logic of the logic. So it's understanding what reality is and what truth is. So the logic of the logic, the metalogic, is that truth is spherical and infinity is that. Infinity is spherical energy. Infinite number of spheres within spheres of energy. And it applies at all scales of reality. And that's just the reality of existence. Everything is spherical from an energy point of view. And because everything is energy, because we exist, believe me, I'm a physicist. I know we are energy, we exist. We are very much alive. Part of the work that I've done is to integrate consciousness into mathematics, meaning the role of consciousness, what's known as qualia. But in reality, it's self-awareness. It's what it is, the observer. And I have fully mapped it. Why? Because we ourselves are the observers of everything that there is as a biological species. So it is a role to understand who we are as the observer. And once you understand what reality is, which is spherical, then you understand everything because everything reveals to you. The truth is revealed. So that's what it is. So metalogic is that. So essentially, when you use metalogic, then we enter this new era because it's the era of knowing the answers for everything. Because if you have a question, then you know the answer for sure. So this is why, if you understand what the affairs of the last few years have evolved into, it's like, we are becoming better at getting more accurate answers in a way and faster. So, this technology that just the chat boxes that we all use, all this autocomplete, all this autocorrection logic, because that's all what it is. All these are just the chat boxes. And it's a chat box that has a data training set that is essentially an autocomplete. That's all it is. So it matches based on the logic, and the logic gives you an autocompletion. So it puts words together. That's all it is. But because we have a lot of knowledge and we have aggregated a lot of information and knowledge, human knowledge, then we have a chat box that gives us pretty good kind of distillations and summaries that allows us to, it's a tool, it's a mechanism. So these tools, these mechanisms are essentially aggregators. That's all they are. They're aggregators of knowledge in the way of an autocomplete chat box. It's an autocorrect chat box. That's all it is, that aggregates knowledge and distills it and synthesizes it. It has all sorts of biases and all sorts of problems, but because we just entered this new era, this new epoch, then all the biases and problems of these chat boxes can essentially be discarded and removed because we know the answer for everything. So if you look at it from a computational point of view and you look at the code and you say, okay, so this is the structural code, this is the source code of this specific chat box and this logic, well, let's apply reality now. Let's apply truth mathematically, P equals NP. And then we're going to find all the biases, and the biases are going to be revealed because the bias is noise. If you understand mathematics for what mathematics is from a structural point of view when it comes to bias and truth, bias is noise. That's what bias is. If you're biased, it's because there's a lot of noise. And all this noise is essentially making you make the wrong decisions. So your Boolean, your true and false, is not necessarily accurate because the logic that you're using is giving you the wrong results because you have a lot of noise. So bias is that. Bias is noise. So you need to remove the noise in order for you to identify the bias. And once you identify the bias, then you can fix it. And the way you fix the bias is by removing it. And the way you remove the bias is by spotting it and identifying it and saying, okay, so this is what it is. And from a human point of view, it's called self-awareness. So it's becoming aware that we can learning, intelligence, right? Consciousness. And because we are the biological observer of existence and infinity, then we have an infinite ability to learn and comprehend and become conscious and become self-aware and capable of doing great things, which is why we enter this era. So because of that, now we can take all the chat boxes and fix them, meaning make them better because they're a good foundation. So this is why I use them, because they're better than not having them. Yeah, because it's an aggregator of applied knowledge. So that's all it is. But now we can take all the bias and the noise out and make it even better because it becomes a truth teller in a way, given not because it knows the truth, but because its signals are essentially pinpointing to truth based on mathematics and logic. So it gives you the right answer. So instead of having all the bias that comes with it, that is inherent to language, that is not necessarily, that is biased, then you need to clear the language, meaning you need to address the problems of it. In mathematics, it's the incomplete formulas that are giving you the wrong language, which means you get noise, you don't get the answer. In semantics, that are not, and syntax, that is not necessarily mathematical language, it is, but it is in the way of words and alphabets. Then how do you remove the bias? Well, it's the meaning of things. And a lot of the meaning, which is bias and noise driven, has to do with incomplete false information, right? Incomplete sets. And because of that, then you can remove that. And if you remove all that is negative and incomplete, all the lies, then you only get the truth. So the language becomes better, more powerful, because it becomes a truly powerful tool of communication and cooperation, because it's all truth driven. So because all the chat boxes are just telling you the facts, they're not biased about what they think the facts are, because the truth is there and it's clear, and there is the systems as essentially are there, the logic, the meta logic is there, ensuring that the system doesn't deviate from the mean and it stays within the boundaries of the limit of its own structure, which is to tell the truth and nothing else but the truth, because the truth is the only thing that matters, because we know the answers now. So it's like in the day we didn't know how to read and write, but now we do, right? So that's the whole point, and that's the same logic, if you understand. So it's a progression of that. So that's why why did I say all these things? Because in the past, we were kind of accelerating the aggregation of knowledge. and then it got to the level where we got chat boxes now. So because we have those, then we move faster. But that's just the beginning, because we gotta fix the chat box, right, to make it better, an actual useful tool rather than a noise amplifier. So that's it. And this is the era that we just entered, which is we're gonna use all these tools just to amplify the truth, because we're not gonna be asking the questions to somehow understand what reality is. We already know what reality is. We know what the truth is. So the chat box, the tool, will essentially just be a mechanism that we use to find deeper truth, more meaning, more infinity, because infinity is infinite. And because infinity is infinite, truth is infinite, meaning there is an infinite number of truth and truth statements that we need to learn, and facts about existence itself. So because that is a reality and is being proven mathematically, then the chat box will only be there as a mechanism for us to keep on developing and finding the right answers, rather than having this noise maker. So that's what the tool is. So that's that, and that's what P equals MPE. So it's essentially, we enter the era of knowing. We know now. We know the truth. We know the answers. We just need to apply them. So all the chat boxes become application tools, essentially, meaning that they just are syntax developers, essentially. That's all they do. They codify syntax and understand true